as the sun rises on day 4 of spring. We are quite firmly in the middle of the month now, of the season. Let's just grab our eggs, get ourselves all up and running. And we have some fields to combine, ready to plant our crops tomorrow. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Seasons in the Valley. We've got some forecast rubbish weather for later today. It is going to rain at some point, according to the forecast. It did rain late last night as well. So the crops are going to be quite nicely moist at the moment, but obviously as we start getting towards the summer, we're going to want that to happen less and less, so that it's not going to impact our ability to harvest. Let's grab our plough. I'm going to grab a counterbalance weight as well. We are a bit low on fuel, actually. Let's top up our fuel levels as well. Try not to squash any chickens on the way over there. So there's our fuel tanks. There we go. And today has been a good day for me. My playseat arrived, so I now have a proper setup for my racing wheel. I can finally start using my G29 a lot more. I've only really, until today, used it just the once, just as to try the thing out when I first sort of moved into my new place, and it was fun, but it was awkward with with where I was, because I didn't have anything proper to set it up on. And my racing seat turned up today. It's a collapsible seat that folds up on itself, and can also keep the wheels and pedals attached while it's folded, which is ideal because I don't really have a huge amount of space. There are pics up on my Facebook page if you haven't seen it and you want to see it. I will leave a link to my Facebook page in the description as always, so please do check that out if you're interested. Had a quick blast on Formula 1 with it, and I'm going to have to learn how to play that game all over again because it's very, very different experience racing with the wheel against racing, you know, with a pad. It just changes everything. I also had a quick go on the demo for Project Cars 2. That's a game I will be picking up as soon as I can afford it. Really, really enjoyed the demo. And that game is massively enhanced if you have a wheel as well. I mean, it's fun but hard on a DualShock. A wheel makes it much, much better. So had a quick blast on that demo. Also had a quick go on spin tyres as well, and I actually really enjoyed using the wheel on spin tyres. Can't use a manual gearbox, unfortunately, because I did not buy the gear adapter or the manual gearbox for the G29, because it was like an extra 30 quid and I didn't think I'd actually really use it that much. And so I had to sort of do the gears manually on a joypad. Ooh. Bit of juddering going on over here because of these trees. There we go. Move away from those. That was not good. Yeah, had some fun with spin tyres, and then after that I had a quick 5-minute blast on Farming Simulator with the wheel. Oh, and that's fun. Again, there's certain things you can't do with the wheel. You can't obviously look and pan around using the wheel. You have to use a DualShock for that. So you have to kind of use the wheel in conjunction with a DualShock for your right stick movements, for your front loaders and any attachments that require a right stick movement, and also just to sort of look around on the map like this. You need the right stick to do that. So again, can't do that with the wheel, but everything else I can do with the wheel. And had a quick 5-minute drive around on Altenstein on my Deutz Farm save file, just to try it out and see what it felt like, and it felt pretty good. So I'm looking forward to actually trying to fit that into an episode. I think maybe the next episode of Deutz Farm I will actually have some wheel action. That may actually be out later today, depending on when I release that episode. It may be today, it may be the next day or two. But we have ploughing here. We have fields that need to be combined. So you can see that's our original field in front of us. This is our brand new field that we've just purchased. So let's get these linked together. What I want to do is try and just keep the width the same as well. All the way across. That could be quite tricky. We'll see how we do. I don't mind stepping in a little bit because I can always go back over it again afterwards. This is where it could get a little bit awkward to try and get right. Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, so what I need to do is turn this around. I may have to roll the edge slightly, but we'll see. I might be able to get away with it doing this. And of course this original field needs ploughing as well, whereas the new one was ploughed before we purchased it. I did some contracting on that to plough it, so that's already been taken care of. Okay, so we're linked fine on that bit there. Let's get the middle bit done. Oh, I need to go across the top a little bit more, don't I? Forgot about that. We'll deal with that in a moment. Let's get the strip between the fields done. I don't need to worry too much about getting right up against the edge of this field because I'm going to have to plough that anyway. So I can afford to be off just a little bit. Now that's interesting. I didn't realise that one actually stuck out a little bit more at this end. Okay, what I might look at doing then is seeing if I can maybe put an extra plough width running down the field. This is going to be tricky because I've got to try and keep in a straight line for as long as I can. I think I will need to roll some of this back a little bit. I don't know if I actually have a roller. If I don't, that means I'm going to have to dip into the money, the loan again to the lease one, because as you can see I'm currently 2,000 in debt. Our expenses are starting to catch up with us. Daily expenses and equipment upkeep and so on and so forth. It's starting to take a toll on our finances. We still haven't made any money really, apart from the little bit that we made from the logs, and most of that went to paying off some of the loan. So we could be in a healthier financial situation, but it's not dire just yet. I mean, we're going to be in debt for quite a while, I think, in this first year. Probably most of the first year. It depends. The crops are going to help, but I don't know whether we'll be when we'll be selling them. Don't know what price we'll be selling them for, and we're going to be kind of relying, I think, on the money from our wood chips more than anything else. So let's see if we can clean this edge up a little bit. I've got my line that I'm going to follow. This furrow slap bang in the centre of my weight. If I can keep centred on that, that should draw me a nice straight line along the bottom edge of this field as best as possible, with the grass and the bumps. That's quite a big bump there. I'm trying to keep the middle of that furrow in the centre of the tractor. And this is pretty much the only job we have to do today, unless, you know, our crops have grown a little bit more, and I don't think they have, but I haven't checked. We'll do that in a minute. Okay, so we are way off in places on this field. I will have to get a roller and just clean that edge up a bit, because it's a bit too messy, really. Just tack that little bit just there. Okay, now we can get this bit joined up. And this one I do kind of need to be a little bit more careful of. We've already ploughed that field and I don't really need to plough it again. There we go. And I think we decided we were going to plough out that grass field as well, didn't we? If I remember rightly. Turn that into a crop field. And increase our sort of crop yield up this end. So what was it we were going to do? Soybean here and corn on 2 and 6. I forget. It's been a few days since I recorded those last episodes. I'm not 100% certain which order I was going to do it in. But now we can plough the rest of this field. And once this is done, we will direct drill wherever we're going to plant soybean, and on the field where we're going to plant corn, we'll cultivate before we plant. Even though technically we don't need to, I don't like planting on furrows. Even though the game allows it, I don't like doing that with a seeder that isn't a direct drill seeder. It just doesn't feel right. So we'll make sure that whichever field we're putting corn on, and I think it's going to be fields 2 and 6, once that's combined, I think that'll be our corn area. Then we'll make sure that we cultivate that field first before we do anything. We're also going to have a quick look at the Wopster in this episode as well. We've used it, well, I haven't used it yet. I've seen it. You've seen it being scrolled through as I've been looking for chainsaws, but haven't actually used it yet in this series. But I have used it a little bit in sort of practice on seasons, just to figure out some of the things that it does and figure out some of the symbols. I've also been reading up on the Realismus modding manual for seasons. Again, linked in the description. If you haven't read it yet, I do highly recommend you read it and bookmark it, because you will probably need to go back to it from time to time if you're not sure on something. It is a wonderful resource, full of really useful information. Obviously nothing beats hands-on information that you've kind of learnt and accrued yourself, but short of a comprehensive video guide that details every little thing about seasons, and hopefully I'll get one of those done in the future, but until that comes around, the best place to go is the source of the mod, really, I would say. So I would highly recommend that you do read that. It does give you some very useful information indeed. Alright, we're almost done with this field. Then we've got that grass field next door. And I remember that's why I was going to plough it, because it already has that edge away from the fence. So we can get our equipment in there and work without the fear of constantly hitting that fence. There's no need to get in there with a roller. Yeah, we must have a roller. Must have a roller. Yes, I do. It's, I remember where it is now. It's in the vehicle workshop. Well, not the workshop itself, but actually, no, yeah, I think it's at the back of the workshop. Or is it the back of the... It might be the back of the wash station. It's in one of those two bays. It's probably the wash station actually, so that I didn't accidentally try and modify that all the time when I drove a piece of equipment in. Pretty sure I parked it in there. So we'll grab that and come and roll out these fields. I did have the T5 all kind of prepped and ready to go for its next run on fertilising, but I might have to use it over here first. Let's just check, make sure that we've got everything that we need to over here. Nope, that's field 93. That's our grass field. Here. Up a bit more. Nope, too far. Down a bit. So let's turn that back on. And you can see we've got a little bit here, but we're going to be rolling that edge off, so I'm not too worried about that. I can't see this very top corner here, but I assume that we've got it all. So let's start ploughing this. Oh, I just tried to hire a worker by mistake. No hiring of workers. A, it's going to be a nightmare using a worker on a field like this. B, it's going to cost me money that I just don't have right now. There we go. I'm going to plough this grass field out, and I'll check back in with you once I've got that done. Alright, we've almost finished ploughing this field, just this tiny little bit to go. And then we have our second crop field up in this part of the map. There we go. Alright, so we've got this field here and that one there that are now both kind of ready. We need to cultivate them and then we can start planting. In fact, no, these ones we're going to use the we're going to plant the soybean on these ones, aren't we? So we don't need to cultivate those ones. It's the other ones that we need to cultivate, because they're the ones that we're planting the corn on. So let's make our way across. Let's see, am I going to be able to get through the town with this plough attached? I should be okay, as long as I'm kind of careful. Keep an eye out for other traffic making its way around. This could be a little dangerous. As long as I hug the side of the road a little bit, should be fine. Yeah, plenty of clearance there. Of course, the bridge is going to be another matter. Luckily. Luckily we don't have too much traffic in the way. Let's just... oh, no, there's traffic coming. I was going to try and overtake, but... we'll have to take it a little bit slower. Alright, now we're going to go for it. There we go. I've been thinking that we kind of really need to get a T6 on our farm, something just to help out. There's a lot of work that we're having to do with just a single tractor, and I am slightly concerned about just how many hours we're putting onto this thing. Got 6.5 hours on it already. We're still in the very early days. So let's see, that field is already done. So it's this field and the joining process just here. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to line up. And try and run in a nice straight line. Oh. can run a nice straight line along here, keep a clean edge on our field, or at least try to keep a clean edge. Oh, just drifted inside just a touch. Keep my front wheel on the edge of the field like that. This should be good. Ground response is making it a little bit hard to stay in a straight line because the tractor's part of it's on flat ground, smooth ground, and the other part's on rough, uneven ground. And the difference between the field and the non-field. So it is making the tractor a little bit bumpier and a little bit harder to control. There we go. Stepped across quite nicely there. Just go and touch. Alright. There we go, that should do it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, so let's turn off auto ploughing. Or creating fields, as I should say. Auto ploughing. So now we're going to make our way sort of up and down this field. I'm going to do a headland like this. I'm actually going to plough in the opposite direction. I'm going to go from side to side, just because I think with that hill it's going to be a bit quicker if we work across the hill. And we start at the opposite end of the field, so if we start at this top end here, then that should make things a little bit smoother for us as well. Because then we're having to sort of, yeah, we're going down the hill rather than up the hill. It's really close to the hedge here, isn't it? Didn't realise just how close we got to that hedge. That could be a little problematic going forward. Definitely going to need to put in a headland when it comes to planting and harvesting. Yeah, I want to add a T6 to our equipment range. I mean, the T7 that we have is still going to end up doing a lot of the work. It's still going to be doing all of our ploughing, although we only really need to do this year unless we add new fields over the winter, in which case obviously we'll need to plough those additional fields as well. But we shouldn't need to do any more ploughing from this point onwards for quite a while, so it's now going to be just kind of seeding that this tractor is going to be doing. And then a T6 would give us a little bit more power in terms of what we can do. So a T6 would work well for cultivating. It would also work well for mowing as well. T7 I think is going to be a little overpowered for that job. Let's just turn off field creation there. Let's get that a little bit on the corner. There we go. Oh, we've already ploughed this field, haven't we? We don't need to do that again. Just need to make sure that we get this bit here. Let's do this middle section first, now that we have our top and bottom parts of the field. And I think I will come up with a roller and just clean the edges of these fields ever so slightly, just to give us a little bit more working room around the edges and make them, I think, a little tidier as well. We'll remove this middle section here. I just love the fact that we can just plough out these bushes. Where has this feature been? Why has this not been part of the game from day one? I don't understand that. It's such a great feature. And I can't help but think that Giants did get that idea from Black Sheep. As I say, you know, I've said it many times before, I'll say it again. Black Sheep did announce many months ago, probably 6 months ago, if not more, that they were going to have ploughable bushes on this map. And it's such a great feature. It really is. In fact, I think it was as early as March, April time that they announced it. So, if it is that far back, that's 9 months ago. There we go. Alright, so we now have our field separation. Let's turn off. Just hire a worker for a second just to make sure that's definitely cleared. If we run across this field now, get this section ploughed, and once this is done, then we can bring our cultivator up. We can clean off this field and the next field. We'll also bring the roller up with us as well, so we can just clean away those edges. Maybe give us just a touch more working room, you know, up in this corner here, because you see it's very tight there. We're not even going in a straight line, are we? No, we're drifting all the way across. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to carry on ploughing and get this field done. And then we'll get, as I say, the roller and the cultivator up here. We'll clean this area up, get it ready for planting, and then we'll do the same at the fields that we've already done as well. Fields 25, 24 and 26. And we'll make sure that that's all nice and clean, tidy, and ready for planting. So I will check in with you guys in a little while. Well, this is interesting. We have a great demand at the Stanton sawmill for wood chips. Considerably higher price for the next 24 hours. Let's take a look at that. See what price we're being offered. $2.97 at the moment. It may well change. Let's take a look at the season's price for wood chips and see where we are against where we could be. Oh, it's terrible. So we have a great demand price, which at the moment is pretty rubbish. But here's the thing. We're going to be doing some logging in the winter anyway, so we could raise a load of cash in winter, and we could take advantage of this great demand if it goes up, because at the moment it's just not good enough. If it goes up in the next few hours, then we could kind of track the price, and if it ends up at a really nice price, yeah, we could consider selling it today. So it's until 11 o'clock tomorrow. $2.97. Let's keep an eye on that and see what happens, because if it does go up enough, then I may well end up selling all of those wood chips today, while we have a fixed price that isn't going to drop after every single container load that we tip. And that would certainly give us the cash to invest in a T6. So yeah, I think I'm going to I'm going to track that price while I'm ploughing this field, and then we'll see where we stand a little bit later. Alright, there we go. Field is ploughed. Price hasn't changed yet. It's been going for about an hour and a half or so. No change yet on the great demand, but we finished the field. So if we go to soil composition and check, you can see we no longer have any red on this field. This is completely done. Let's check over here as well. Oh, we had that little bit there, and we were going to roll that out, weren't we? So the only issue that we're going to have at the moment is that half of our field is going to be a different stage of fertilizer to the other one. So I think what I might do is I might actually fertilize those fields first. Might give them a quick spray with our spraying unit and our T5 before we go too much further, just so we can get them kind of on a level playing field across the whole field. Oops, a bit wobbly. so let's get this back to the farm, get it cleaned and put away, and grab the rest of the equipment, and we'll take the T5 out. We'll spray those sections of field that are going to need another stage of fertilizer, and then once that's done, then we'll get the roller out and the cultivator out and clean everything up. We won't be doing the seeding until tomorrow, because we've got to be on day 5 before we can actually start seeding either corn or soybean. Ground temperature isn't quite enough at the moment. It's 9 degrees, we need 10 degrees to be able to plant those crops. So let's get this back to the farm, and I'll see you back on the fields with the sprayer in just a moment. Okay, so we don't need to spray that field there because that's already got, I think, 2 stages of fertilisation on it. It's this bit here that we're going to need to spray. And it shouldn't take us very long either. It's got a small patch of field. Still not far enough inside the field, I think. There we go, that'll do. So we're just going to spray this patch here. This will get this bit up to stage 1 to match the field that we've already got that's at stage 1. And we may end up with a couple of bits that aren't quite fertilised, and a couple of bits that are over fertilised, in the sense that, you know, little bits that are at stage 0 still, and little bits are at stage 2, but that's fine. Yeah, I just want to get the main bulk of this field sort of compatible, if that makes sense. And this is a nice, quick and easy way to do it. So I'm not going to bother with that little bottom section along there. We'll leave that as is, but this main chunk of field here, this we will definitely make sure that this is all fertilised up to stage 1. There we go. Now that that's done, let's get this folded up and we'll check the next field, get that done. Let's also just take a look and see how well we've done over there. Look at that, almost seamless, and then just that little bit there that's at stage 2. That's fine. I'm absolutely fine with that. Let's check. Still 297, still no change. So as things are standing at this point, we were not going to be selling our wood chips, but there's still plenty of time on that great demand. Still got over 21 hours before it ends. Although, having said that, it's going to go into another day, and then you can see it's going to drop quite substantially the next day. So I wonder if that's going to have an effect on the great demand. That could be interesting. That could be very interesting. I wonder if the price will completely reset over midnight. I wonder if the great demand will even carry across over midnight. I guess we'll find out, won't we? At the start of day 5, we'll find out if the great demand A has carried across, and B, if it has, whether the price has been reflected by that drop, according to our sort of prediction, our price prediction. Alright, this time out we've got a much bigger area that needs spraying. You can see the difference in soil colour straight away. We'll start at the top, I think. There's the BGA entrance just there, I think. Is that the BGA? Yes, that is. There's the BGA. Okay, so let's get them folded here. There we go. I'm going to try and stay in a reasonably straight line along here. Of course, it's not going to be easy when we have obstacles like a tree. If we go back to that far end again, this time I'm going to go just start at the bottom, make it a little bit easier. We're going to come up and do a sort of a headland on this side of the field. Give myself a little bit of turning room, so I don't have to worry about turning with those trees around there. And then we'll go back along the top again, and then we'll fill that little bit in that gets left where the field sort of curves inward. Alright, there we go. So, reposition. Pick a furrow and try and stay in a straight line. Of course, it's not always easy to do that when you're on a slope like this. It just tends to, naturally kind of pull you in one direction or the other. But as long as we can kind of keep lined up as best we can, we should be okay. Just not being able to see where I'm going when it changes like that is not helpful. Oops, I just lowered it by mistake. There we go. So now we can get this little bit here, this top section. So for this bit, I'm just going to very easily and quickly just do that. And then we'll do the same over here. There we go. Alright, there we go. So that's the worst bits done. Now we need to do this bit here. Go. Now that bottom overlap I'm not worried about. And there we go. We have our sort of fertilising border to work within. So all that's left now is for me to finish this field off, and then we'll break out the roller, clean the edges, and then cultivate the fields, and then that is pretty much our work for this day done. So we get to have a nice sort of part of the day off, which would be, a nice change for our farmer. I might perhaps take on a contract job on one of those potential future fields. I'll see what work is available. I'm not going to do too much between episodes. I don't want to, just add in a huge chunk of money while you're not looking. So I'm going to carry on spraying this field, and I'll talk to you guys in just a sec. Alright, field has been sprayed. Let's pull over and check the map. Check our coverage. This looks pretty good to me. Just again, a couple of thin lines where we oversprayed and gone to stage 2, but I'm generally very happy with that. So just need to roll the edges of these fields and get them cultivated now. So we'll start with this field here, seeing as we're here. So let's just tidy this edge up a little bit. Make this nice and neat all the way along here. You can see we're just flattening those tufts of grass, but we're not removing them. But it is allowing us to just clean up the edge as well, as you can see, like that. And this edge is pretty much okay, I think. I'm just going to get that little tiny bit there. There we go. Just need to make sure I just clean up the other side of this, because it is sticking out just a touch. Okay, come in just a little bit more. And a little bit more. There we go. Oh, rolled out again. Just take it off to that corner. There we go. Beautiful. Alright, so what are we looking like over here? We're quite close to the trees, but we're not too bad. It's tight, but we can work around that. As I say, we can put a headland in. Over here, never did like the fact that we had that little weird bit jutting out like that, so I'm going to remove that. I noticed that quite a lot when we were contracting on this field, and it bugs me, so there we go. We'll just remove that. And we'll check our join over here. You know what, I'm actually quite happy with that join. That looks pretty good. So this field is pretty much ready, I think, for cultivation. Just checking. Yeah, I don't see any other real problem areas. So I'm going to start cultivating this field, and then once this is done, we'll head over, roll out the edges of the other field where they need it, and then cultivate if we feel the need to, but probably won't cultivate on that one at all. Probably just roll the edges and leave it like that. So let's get our cultivator up and running. I'm going to park the roller just there for a second, just in case I accidentally activate it. Last thing I want to do is cut out a section of field again. So let's drop our Liborto. Nice 6-meter cultivator here. This is actually one of Black Sheep's mods as well, this cultivator. And I loved the 4-meter, or the 4.2-meter version that they released shortly after Oldstream came out. Really enjoyed using that, and this one, been out for a while now, but when they first showed it off, it was on this map, while this map was in testing, and it is still in development. And I just absolutely, absolutely loved the 4-meter version, so I knew that I would have to have the 6-meter version at some point. This is the first time I've actually used it but it looks great. And it's working really nicely as well. So plenty of field to cultivate. We'll get this done, and then, as I say, we'll move on and work on fields 24 and 25 with the roller. Kind of puts into perspective just how steep the slope is on this field when you get a shot like that, and you see just the change in height and angle all the way across it. You can see why it's so difficult to keep a straight line as well. See there, just little patches where the tractor's just automatically started pulling in one direction or the other simply because of the slope of the hill. It is pretty suey. Massive change in distance there. Alright, just this final bit to go, and then this field is done. We've got a nice straight edge here that we can follow now as well. Alright, we're good. We are done. All folded up. We need to go and retrieve our roller and then make our way over to the next field. Okay, so just a little bit of rolling to do. That's all we need to do over here. Let's take a look and see exactly what does need to be rolled. I am really tempted to maybe just take a furrow or so off the edge here. It's so close to this. Yeah, I'm going to. Just going to strip away this little bit just here. Just to give us that little extra room up against the fence. There we go. Nice, clean, smooth edge. Now I need to do the same along here as well. So let's get all the way to the other end first. It's going to be a little bit difficult in places. Oops. See, that just sticks out just a touch there. Let's just clean that edge. There we go. It's going to be a little tricky along here, I think, just simply because of the terrain. So you have to be careful with this bit. And I don't want to take too much off the edge either. So I want to... Oops. Yeah, that'll do. I'll come back and I'll clean that other furrow up in a moment. Can't afford to go... Oh, see what I mean about the terrain there? I got a little rough there. That bump. I kind of spotted that, but I didn't know it was going to be that severe. Have to be really careful along here. Oh, that's vicious. That's really vicious. I ended up taking away a bit more than I wanted to just there. I think. Oh no, no we didn't. So I do want to be... There we go. Hopefully we won't have another vicious bump like that. Oops. And there we go. Right. So we have our clean edge along that side now. Let's just go and tidy this back piece up a bit here. That bump was vicious. So let's see if we can take this off nice and carefully. Yeah, look at how vicious that is there. Damn it. That's what I was trying to avoid doing. Oh, never mind. It's just a tiny little thing. Oh, and I need to tidy this end up as well, don't I? Alright, there we go. And then we're nice and clean along here. And we should be nice and clean along the other edge as well. Just quickly double check that. I should have checked that when I drove along here the first time. No, we didn't drive along this way, did we? Ah, yeah, we are. One step down, aren't we? So, yeah, let's roll one line back as well. Sometimes I'm not too bothered about fields, you know, having slightly jaggedness on them, but this particular field, I do want this to look nice and neat and nice and straight. Given it's already existing. Is that not got any clipping on it? Right, what about the other ones that had collisions? No, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, just given, you know, the existing shape of this field already that we were joining together, already being nice and square and straight, it's just nice to keep that going. And that's pretty much it. Alright, there we go, good to go. So, let's take one last look at the price. Still hasn't changed. So, if it's going to change, it's probably going to do it late into the evening. So, I'm not going to just skip ahead now that we're done. This is the end of the episode, so I'm going to probably look and find a couple of bits of contract work that I can do. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to look at fields 50 and 51. Try and bring those prices down a little bit, because the plan is hopefully to be able to join those together in the new year, maybe. So I'll certainly try and get a couple of different jobs done on field 51, bring that price down a little bit. And then I'll keep an eye on the great demand price for our wood chips as well. And if that goes up significantly, then obviously I'll brief you about that next time out, and I'll probably, you know, record a little bit of footage to sneak in there as well. So that's it for another episode of Seasons in the Valley. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and we'll be back with day 5 of our Seasons playthrough very soon.